What's going on, guys? It's CJ and I'm back, and this time I'm talking about Quest. I haven't talked about Quest in so long because I haven't gone to a Quest in so long, but I thought, fuck it, I can get one day off and head down there and see what it's all about. I'm not a big fan of the Warhammer style that Swordcraft has gone with, but let's give it a swing, see what we think, and see if there's potential with this. And that's what I did. So I took one day off. I told all the goats that I can't make it, full stop, not going to be there. I hate you all for going because I can't be there. And it made for a really good reunion when I finally did rock up. So this is the story of Einar Rockstrude going to Quest. So the journey started with waking up at 4:30, 5 o'clock roughly, and just sort of packing the last little bit into my car, so drink, things like that, and then just shooting off into the distance. I will go through and give you the pros and cons of the site in my eyes. This 100%, this whole video is my opinion, and then sprinkling in the thoughts of others along the way. But for the most part, this is what I thought of Swordcraft's Quest this time around on the new property down there in Whoopity-Doo-Dong-Dong-Dong. I don't remember the name of the suburb, so don't worry about that. So the drive itself was pretty easy because I was driving so early in the morning, so there wasn't really cars out, so I got a pretty smooth run the whole way. I was meeting T-Bone and Sadie, his daughter, in Colac. The plan was 7:30, and I got a message saying, "Where are you?" And I said, "I'm about 10 minutes out of Colac." He said, "I'm still in bed. I'll be there in about an hour." So already off to a goaty start. But we decided to meet in Colac just so we could do the last little bit of shopping, get everything out of the way, and then head on down to the site. I hate the fact that I'm going to be half an hour late to the gates opening for me. Saw some cows.
6 hours later.
Okay, so I'm still waiting on T-Bone. I needed to go to the toilet, so I went on to Google Maps and I looked up public toilets, somewhere I could go, because everywhere's closed. Like, it's fucking weird. This place is like a ghost town at the moment. And I found a public toilet with good reviews. So I've gone there and I'm going to give you a review once I'm done. So it wasn't good. It wasn't good. Now, once we made it to the site itself, as you're driving down like the little road that leads into the property, you're greeted with a horizon in the distance of just bell tents. And I was really excited because that's what I want. I want a Drakenfest style. Everyone's in the proper tents. There's not a bunch of Kmart tents laying around. But then as you get closer, that dream sort of fizzles out. Because after driving past the Waz's Waste truck, you're met with a sludgy bog that is the car park. And we were told to park our cars there. Not a chance, not doing it. I'd never get out. The goats were sold on the fact that I couldn't come. I couldn't get the time off. My wife's pregnant. I gave them all these stories as to why I wasn't going to be there. And then as soon as I stepped out of the car, I just saw Tina's face light up. She was so excited to see me because, fuck it, look at me, right? Come on. But she was really excited to see me, and I was super excited to see her. Tina is one of my favorite goats. She's just a big ball of fucking love and good vibes, and every time I see her, I'm so happy. But yeah, we got our stuff together. We put the wagons together, really rickety. Rickety, wrecked, son! I just built this nice table, and then we already drilling holes into it to get these wheels on, but it's a great idea. We're definitely going to go ahead with the wagon sort of style that we came up with, but we'll figure out a good way to do it so it's not so wobbly, because as you can see, the wheels don't like going forward. But outside of that, the car park tents weren't exactly the immersive section, so that was good because that already gave me Fire Festival vibes, like walking in and just seeing cars and people everywhere and tents and mud, and it really screamed Fire Festival to me. So I was happy that that wasn't the immersive section. So after we got all that out of the way, we walked down to the in-character section of the site, which is so much better than the car park. I can't even tell you. But you have to sort of walk past a few little camps that are dotted along the road, and some of them did really well. I think it's the Rogues, but I'm probably wrong. I don't really pay attention anymore. But they had like the orange and green. I think one of them's a crescent moon, something like that. But you guys did really well from what I could see. I didn't want to go into people's camps and take photos this time around because it is the first event. I'm not expecting everyone to have nailed it this time, so I'm not too fussed. But I did see a few camps that I was impressed with, and everyone knows me as the immersive camp guy. So if I'm saying I'm impressed, take that as a compliment because that is something I focus on. So we then walked past town. Town was sort of up on a hill, and we walked past it, and I was like, all right, I've definitely got to get in there because I've heard that it's sort of compact, so the streets feel more lived in. There's more population there, which was something that I was excited about because usually town, they spread it out way too much and it gives you this sort of random tents in the middle of a field sort of feel, and that's not what I want. I want that cramped in, condensed. You have to shuffle past people. That feels realistic. But I'll get to that. So I walked down to the goat camp and they've done a really good job. The baby goats, I've never met these baby goats before. These are all Canberra, Sydney, like north side goats. So it was really good to meet all of them, and they've done such an amazing job. They've got immersive marquee set up, they've got tea house set up, they've got the fire pit, they've got a few bell tents, A-frames. But the gate coming into goat camp was like these two big foam pillars with, it looked like just trees sort of stood up with one on top. I really did like coming through those gates. It gave you that sort of feeling of I'm home, grand sort of entrance style. So that was really good. The tea house was awesome. They had like little props and things everywhere. There was bones, there was skulls, there was gems, everything in there that looked really good. So I was really proud of that. So after all the introductions to the baby goats got out of the way, we decided to head into a battle that was already going to happen. So I was looking at town and I'm like, I want to go over there, but if there's a battle, the goats are involved. So we went down, we got all the boys and girls together, pushed into the forest, and I could hear the battle happening before we got there. That was a good sign. It meant there was a fair few people there, and there was. So as you can see, there was lots going on. There was people flinging arrows. There was a ogre rat of the Skavens. I don't know how he works, but cool. And yeah, there was just a lot of fighting going on, drums, trumpets, horns, everything. So it felt really good to be in that battle. And I got a few videos and photos along the way, but in the end, Sadie, being a kid, walking so much, being awake so early, eating too much sugar, she started getting a little tired. So I said to T-Bone, let's just take her back up. We'll go into town and we'll relax for a little bit so she can sort of rest. But we did finally make it up to town, and this is the highlight for me. There may have been other things that should have been the highlight, but this is what I experienced in the one day I was there. So you walk into town and immediately you do feel that sense of this is a populated town. There's so many people in there that you do have to shuffle past people. There's different characters, arguments going on, there's street fights happening, there's vendors, there's churches, all sorts of stuff going on. The negatives that I had with town was the plastic ass marquees. I can't deal with those in my head and see this town as realistic until those marquees are gone. I know that they're expensive to get the canvas tents. I know that it's really hard to build structures, and I'll get to that in a second, but it really hurts to sort of see those plastic marquees because I am such an immersion German from 1940. So it was a good feel to walk into town when you try and block that out. There was plenty of things going on, but the Rangers had a little hut built, which was cool. It was just a big wooden box, and they had little meetings in there, I guess. I wasn't able to go in because I'm not a Ranger, but it did look good. It could use a little bit more, I don't know, architecture, design sort of thing to it, instead of just being a Minecraft box. But it was cool to see them put in that effort. The tavern, never even got to see it. This is one of the biggest negatives about every event I ever go to. If the tavern sucks, the event will suck just a little bit more. And I think that they left the tavern build way too late. And people are saying that the first 2 days, the tavern wasn't ready, the roof wasn't on, it got flooded a little bit, it was sitting on blocks of wood and tires, and when I looked at the photos of it, it was not immersive. It looked like, you know those portable classrooms they have outside of schools where it's just like a white square with like corrugated iron on the outside? It felt like that. So I wasn't really impressed. The fact that I didn't even get a chance to go in because it's, the way I saw it, it was locked all day. So I couldn't even go inside and check it out and see if, all right, maybe these people are just blowing it out of proportion. But I never even got a chance to go inside. So that sucked bollocks. As you wiggle around the town, you've got, I think Death was there. I didn't get to see Death because I was too busy trying to get in as much as I could. I wish I went to Death because Death loves the goats, but oh well, we'll see what happens next time. The Red Hound, that had a little bit of activity going on, which was good to see. There was people in there. I got to see Cam. Big shout outs to Cam, the blacksmith. I love you, brother. It was so good to see you. You gave me that big bear hug. I didn't want to interrupt in your conversation. That's why I didn't smash in on you immediately, but great to see you again. The exchange, so I signed in. All right, I'll say it. Fuck it. The dude at sign in, you need to pick that attitude up because that was a really negative experience for pretty much everyone that I spoke to. I know you've got a shitty job having to sit there and go through all the papers, check everyone's tickets. No one's ready, myself included. I was like a fuckhead and I'm like, oh, I didn't even think about it. But no one had their tickets ready. The reception wasn't the best for your phone. I'm lucky I'm on Telstra now, so I did have some reception. But yeah, it was just really mopey sort of feel, and that can't be the case because if you've got new people like the baby goats coming in and they're signing in and their greeting is that, not a good look, homie. But got signed in, went over to the exchange a little bit later on to get my 3 copper, and Nelson's in there dealing with a customer and he's handing out the coins, and that was really cool to see because it felt like a bank. It actually felt like I was in a old western more than a medieval town. It felt like the old western because he had the bars set up, so it felt like one of their banks. But that was cool. I did enjoy that. It was just a small thing that made me happy. But after that, got a little bit tired again, so I went back down to Goat Camp, and I sort of got to know everyone, check out the layout of the camp, and I've already got images in my head of how I'm going to sort of set this up. I am going to be a little bit bossy when it comes to building this camp, but so after a while of sitting around our camp, we started getting approached by mostly the Order, I think they're called, the Sigma followers. I think they're still called the Order in Warhammer. Didn't really pay attention. But they were coming around a fair bit and having conversation with us, starting arguments, demanding to retrieve certain things from our camp that we'd stolen, and they were really good. Great role play. It was good to sort of interact with them. But yeah, we got into a few fights. Here's some footage of us getting into it with the Order, and they just kept whooping our ass. But that's kind of what the goats do. We just get into fights and die, and that's kind of our thing. So yeah, that was fun. Shout outs to this human being for, when we're in the middle of the fight, I'm spitting blood and it's real goat-like, and she stopped the fight because she saw that I was bleeding and thought something bad had happened, and she didn't know it was all fake blood. So big shout outs to you, thank you for caring. I hate it because it broke the fight up, but you had a good reason, and it was a funny story. So thank you so much. The goats, the goats built a tank. So that was something completely new. Goats hate technology for the most part, and now we're starting to get tanks and guns, crossbows, things like that. So that's usually stuff the goats would avoid, but these Northside goats, they're into their tech. So they've built a tank and brought a tank down from the north, which is insane. Like, I don't even know how they did it. I didn't see any pictures of their car completely covered in wood and things, but it was awesome. The power on the cannon was unrivaled. So there was kind of tank jousting. I wasn't there this day. This is RV's footage, but I might be wrong. But then after a while, obviously things started dying down. I had to take a lot of stuff back up to the car. So I sort of dawdled off, and then all the goats sort of just slowly wiggled their way back up to the unimmersive car park tent. And we just sat in there, had the fire going, just chatting absolute shit, and really getting to know each other, which was awesome. But yeah, it came time where I had to leave, and everyone was trying to convince me not to leave, because I would have been leaving around 10:30 to 11, and then it would have taken me 2.5 hours to get home. So they weren't keen on me driving while I was tired. But in the end, I do have to leave because my wife's pregnant, as I said, and I did have work the next day at night, so I kind of had to go. But they wouldn't let me. They really wouldn't let me. We ended up discussing how we want the warband to run. When I finally did say goodbye to everyone, gave everyone a hug, they stole my car keys. So then I was stuck there like a tit, just asking who's got the friggin' keys. Couldn't figure it out, so I was stuck there for another 15 minutes. But I finally did get to head off, and it was really sad to sort of see that place in my rear view. I'll go through the goods, the bads, the uglies now, because I feel like it's unfair if I sort of don't give out the positives and only focus on the negatives, and vice versa. So this is my list of things that I think Swordcraft did right and did wrong. Okay, so the goats told me to do the compliment sandwich. Say something nice, say something negative, say something nice at the end. But I feel like most of the stuff I have is kind of on the negative side. But that's just my experience, right? Okay, so when the goats arrived, apparently we were told we were camping in spot A, and when we got there, they changed us to spot B, and there wasn't enough room for all of us to camp there, which already sets the baby goats from the north, the first time they've ever come to Swordcraft, off. That's a bad experience. Like, hey, sorry, we promised you 100 feet and we're giving you 60. That's not cool. So that was negative, and that sort of forced the goats to sort of split up for the most part. So some of the tents were down in the immersive section, some were up in the unimmersive section, which I think is pretty uncool. I did really like the town. I love the condensed feel. That sort of gives you, you know, in Hitman, when you're walking through a crowd, he sort of like has to shuffle past people. I think they do it in Assassin's Creed. It felt like that, which was really cool. But then again, the negative about it is the unimmersive stuff in town that is just so obvious. Like no attempt to hide it at all. It's just sort of sitting there. The Epic Armory store had that big printed Epic Armory sign, and I'm like, fuck it, you've got it, why wouldn't you use it? But it did kind of suck for me as a immersion freak, sort of walking through and seeing that. This is going to be negative, positive, negative, negative, positive. This is going to be pretty brutal. The site facilities apparently were absolutely fucked. It wasn't a good sign when I drove in and saw Waz's Waste right there. I thought that was probably a good thing at the time, but it might have been foreshadowing, because people were saying that the toilets were out of water and clogged by 8 o'clock. There was always too many people using them, so you couldn't get in. They weren't clean. The ladies didn't have a sanitary bin for their gross stuff. Ew. So they didn't have the bin to deal with their stuff. So people were sort of really upset about that, because that's a massive oversight. And then they just sort of shut the toilets down at a certain time. So if you need to take a crap after that, you have to be a bear in the woods, because you're kind of trapped. So that was ridiculous. I can't believe that after this many events, this many years, people are still fucking up the toilets. Stop fucking up the toilets. Like, that's every time people say, oh, we're going to this site, the first question people ask is, are there toilets and showers? And if there isn't toilets and showers, you lose a small population. To be fair, if they can't deal with shitty toilets, like, fucking tough enough. But it's not a good thing to have. Like, you can't keep having this same issue every fucking event, but it pops up every fucking event. The other positive, sounds like I've only got like 4, probably 2. The other positive was the camps, the creation of the immersive camps that I saw, the few that I did see. Everyone did really well. I was really impressed. I was really happy with how much effort people had put in this time. For the most part, camps usually are really lackluster to me. I'm sort of embarrassed by some of the stuff that people put out. Even the goats. We had this stupid little dragon toy that I wanted to fucking punt kick over the moon, but you can't shit on everyone's happiness, right? Because the toilets are broken, so you can't shit anyway. But and then the other negative that I felt was the site itself is really nice. It's a great look. It's got different sort of biome sort of feels to it, I guess you'd call them. But the big issue for me is the rocks. There was rocks fucking everywhere. You're not allowed to dig, and even if you did, you're fucking hitting rocks after rocks after rocks. So that kind of sucked. And that sort of brings us back to the start. Negative. The fact that they sort of expected everyone to come in and clear their own sites. Now, I know Swordcraft can't go around and clearing everyone's site, because you may do things that they don't want. Like, there might be a rock that we wanted to use as a wall or the start of a wall, and then if they rip it out, then we're screwed. But it is kind of weird to sort of host an event and say, all right, for the first 2 days, you're probably going to be clearing rocks just so you can put your tent down. You're going to be clearing a lot of cow shit just so you can put your tent down. And I think that's a really bad look. You can't have that sort of thing going on. This should have been done well in advance. If the event wasn't run till early to mid next year, no one would have noticed. But if you have working bees leading up to that, people would have got their sites the way that they wanted, and this complaint wouldn't have happened. But that's just my thoughts on it. Some of the other positives that people brought up was the economy seemed to be moving. People were spending their copper instead of trying to hoard it. People, listen to me. It's not real money. Stop hoarding copper. You just look like a douche. But people were spending their coin this time around, and it was really good to see the economy actually moving. People were buying things that they didn't need, but they just knew that it would keep the money rolling around, and that was really good. That's something that a lot of places struggle with. Exodus struggles with it, Swordcraft struggles with it, but apparently this time it was a little bit better, which is always a step in the right direction, and that makes me happy. The wilderness sort of section was wilderness-y. But it did have a lot of tripping hazards, and there wasn't a lot of wide open space to actually have a proper battle. You were sort of always dodging a bush, a rock, a big log, a tree. It was really difficult to sort of move around. Like, the amount of people I saw falling over, I'm pretty sure I saw 2 ambulances come in as well, so I'm guessing people fucked up their legs in those. But yeah, it was a nice looking area, but it definitely has a lot of work that needs to be done to it to sort of level it out and make it sort of playable, because you can't have people falling over all the time. You're just opening yourself up to lawsuits and things like that. So that's a good and a negative, I guess. Another positive was they had a market day for non-vendor sellers. So if I had a bunch of shit, which I do, that I wanted to get rid of, which I don't, I could go there and open up my own little store, and people could come in, buy it for real, buy it for copper, things like that. So that was really good. I do love that idea that you're not just sort of restricting everyone to sort of walking around to different camps to sell stuff. You're giving them a day where they can put out a shop and people can garage sales, sort of like walk around, look at what they want, go from there. So that's good. Good job, buddy. So this is going to be a long ass video, so I may as well just start cutting it up here. But in the end, the goats did really enjoy their experience at Swordcraft, but the event has, I reckon, minimum 2 years before it will become something properly functional. Because at this stage, the site is too rocky, the toilet systems are fucked, the town is unimmersive, the tavern is bum, just straight bum. So yeah, there's a lot to work on, but it really does have a lot of potential, and I know that the Swordcraft guys know this, but they just need the means to sort of execute and develop the site a lot better. The car park definitely needs to be reworked, whether or not you gravel a lot of it, whether or not you crush rock it, whatever you're going to do, but you've got to do something, because that's going to be a big issue going forward, especially in the colder seasons. Like, this is meant to be fucking spring for us, and it was already a bog. So with climate change, thanks ScoMo, you dog, with climate change, obviously things could get a lot worse. So for the one day that I was there, I can fuck with it. Definitely has a lot that I want to change. Has some things that I really liked. But I think the goats next time around, we're going to focus on getting everyone to Exodus instead of Swordcraft. Obviously, because we've got a lot of Northies, it's harder for them to get down here. So we have to be sort of smart about which events we attend. But I think Exodus will be our next one. So get ready, Brendan. Open the doors for the goats, because we're going to come in and fuck shit up. People from Exodus, please don't get offended if the goats are mean to you. It's what we do. We don't mean anything by it. But we seem to get in trouble a lot because people think we're douchebags. But you need the chaos. You can't just have everyone fucking flinging flowers at each other. You need someone that's going to spit in your fucking face. So that's our plans going forward. That's my time at Swordcraft Quest. I was very happy to get down there for at least one day, and again, these are just my thoughts and a few sprinkled in from others, but for the most part, it was fun. It was a good event. Just has a lot to improve on. But thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video. I'm hoping to get the next podcast out very soon, and I'm hoping to have a special guest on that one. So thanks again for watching. I will catch you then. Bye.